Welcome to Real Shame. It's a twice, sometimes more a week show where we review movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spots. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
All right, we did it. We're at the finish line.
The final episode.
Final episode ever. No.
Yeah. Sorry, not ever.
Final Halloween episode, guys. I hope you've had a lot of fun on this ride. I have. We've both seen movies that we haven't seen, which was really cool, and had a lot of fun doing that. And tonight's no exception. Tonight we're going to review a horror classic that I haven't seen, and that movie's going to be
George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Let's talk about that.
With all of us working, we can fix this place up in no time. We have everything we need up here.
We can take all that stuff downstairs with us. Man, you're really crazy, you know that? You got 1,000,000 windows up here. All these windows, you're gonna make them strong enough to keep these things out, huh?
I told you those things don't have any strength. I smashed 3 of them and pushed another one out the door.
Did you hear me when I told you they turned over our car?
Oh, hell, any good 5 men can do that.
That's my point. Only there's not going to be 5 or even 10. There's going to be 20, 30, maybe 100 of those things. And as soon as they know we're here, this place is going to be crawling with them.
Well, if there are that many, they'll probably get us wherever we are.
So Night of the Living Dead came out in 1968. As I said, directed by George Romero, co-written by George Romero and another guy named John Russo. And I mean, Night of the Living Dead, obviously it's a classic. I think everybody is pretty much familiar with it at this point. Although it did not invent zombies, there were definitely zombies from before Night of the Living Dead. I would say it kicked off kind of modern day, what we now know as the zombie film. Before Night of the Living Dead, you had movies like I Walked with a Zombie by, Jacques Tourneur. You had the movie White Zombie, which is probably where Rob Zombie got his band name.
And maybe his name.
White Zombie with, is it Bela Lugosi that's in that? I can't remember. But yeah, the zombies in those movies are basically just kind of, I think they're supposed to be undead, but they're basically an army that could do your bidding. They weren't eating flesh or chasing after people trying to eat their brains or anything like that.
And we had like voodoo zombies where they were like, from like Kojak, Night Stalker and stuff like that.
Right. Night of the Living Dead brought, as you said, kind of the new wave of what we now know as the zombie movie, and it introduced kind of some of the characteristics of what we now have as zombie movies, although those have been toyed with a little bit over the years, but whatever. But this is a classic film. The premise, it's zombies, right? I mean, there's something that is causing the dead to come back to life. And they are walking around, albeit very slowly, and eating flesh and killing people. And the only way to stop them is to shoot them in the head or burn them in some way, incapacitate what they have left for a brain, and then they won't move around. It's in black and white, although, obviously plenty of films were in color by this point, but it was shot probably because it's pretty low budget. It's cheaper to develop. What was it? It's 16 millimeter, or no, it's 35 millimeter. But black and white film. Yeah. It's cheaper to develop black and white film than it is to develop color film. So why not shoot it in black and white? So the main character is played by Dwayne Jones. He plays Ben. And then nobody else in the movie, honestly, really went on to do much else, I guess. We can kind of get into their limited filmographies after this. They get holed up in almost like a farmhouse kind of thing. Well, it's a house, but it's out in the country, out in the boonies. And they have to fend off zombies for the night. And meanwhile, there's National Guardsmen and military people and police forces and everything trying to rid the world of this sudden zombie epidemic that has come along, and also kind of figure out what the heck is causing it in the first place.
Yep.
But you've never seen Night of the Living Dead.
Never seen Night of the Living Dead. I'm trying to remember if I've seen any George Romero movie. I've seen Dawn of the Dead, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've seen The Crazies. And I actually thought The Crazies came out before this movie.
No,
but
just
it
after.
Came out, just
after.
after.
A little after. Yeah.
But I don't think I've seen like Diary of the Dead. I haven't seen. There's a lot of his zombie movies that I've kind of missed. But
Monkey Shines is another one that you never saw. Monkey Shines.
No, but I remember the monkey.
Yeah,
right?
the little monkey, creepy little doll thing with the symbols. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I've seen Night of the Living Dead numerous times, so this is just one of many times that I've seen it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your initial thoughts were?
Yeah. So I was kind of nervous going into this because a couple things. One is I'm kind of over the whole zombie thing. I think with The Walking Dead and all that stuff, it's become, I don't want to say rote, but it's just I feel like I've had as much zombie in the public as I can, right? I'm just kind of over it, right?
There's no shortage of zombie movies or
Yes.
television shows.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
So I'm just kind of over that a little bit, and knowing that this is older and the beginning of it, I was just kind of worried like how I was gonna like it. But I thought this movie was good. Like I thought it was really good actually. I do think it kind of starts off a little slow for me, but once you get to the farmhouse, like we said, and things start kicking, it is very interesting. And I do like, and I think George Romero is kind of known for his social commentary, and he kind of uses these horror movies to kind of do that. And I really like that kind of social commentary, and I think it's kind of a little bit prudent with what's going on these days and stuff like that. But yeah, I had actually had a lot of fun. If I was gonna pick some nits, the blonde girl was just
Barbra?
Barbra.
Okay.
Yeah, Barbra. Yeah, Barbra.
The one that starts off
What
with.
was her deal?
Yeah, she was kind of. I guess yeah, she was more frustrating than anything, and maybe that's the reason why she's in the movie is to be kind of like that. But it was just real. I really wish we kind of something happened or something more happened with her than her just kind of like being almost in a vegetative state, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe, like I said, maybe that was purposeful, but that was probably the part of the movie that was like really nagging in watching the whole movie, and it kind of let me down a little bit in my watching the movie.
Gotcha.
I thought she got bit because when she was like petting the lace on the couch, and he had just said, "Oh, flame is there," and the woman like lights the cigarette. I was like, "Oh, she's been bitten." Like I thought she was gonna turn.
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Wait," I mean, and Adam was like, "I think that's too advanced for like this is."
Yeah, I don't think this movie was ready for that kind of stuff. And the other thing that's interesting is, like you said, this is the beginning of the modern zombie thing, but it's interesting what the zombies can do versus what we see them do kind of nowadays. Like they know how to work like doors a little bit, and they know how to work like they're problem solving. They're
problem solvers, right?
They're a little bit more cognizant than what we would think of like the Walking Dead kind of zombies and stuff like that, where the Walking Dead zombies are just moving on like pure food kind of like base level kind of stuff.
Yeah, in stuff like The Walking Dead, if the zombies encounter a closed door, the only way that door is coming open is if enough of them press up against it and it just breaks down. And one of them is eventually going to turn the handle. So.
And I think like when we talk about like Dawn of the Dead, those zombies are more like the Walking Dead zombies, right? They're not as intelligent as these kind of zombies. So maybe it even looks like George Romero kind of changes the way they are a little bit as he goes on and tells these things. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, as I said, I've seen this film numerous times. I love it. I think it's a great classic horror film. It's one of those movies that, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I saw it when I was very young on television and was just smitten by it at an early age. So I've kind of grown up with it and have watched it, a few times over the years or whatever. But I always like to revisit it. I do think, it coming into, I'm glad that you liked it, but I think a lot of people probably would watch it now and just think it's slow or it's boring or something like that. But I don't think it's boring. I don't think all of it works. I mean, I think there's parts of it that are melodramatic, and there's some dialogue in there that I'm like kind of cringing at, or some performances maybe that I'm kind of cringing at or whatever. I do think it's interesting that you talking about Barbra. It's interesting to me how the movie starts off, and it looks like she's going to be maybe the main character.
Yeah, should we go to spoilers?
And then, you know what? Let's do that.
Yeah, sorry. I know. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah.
We'll stop right there, and we'll go into spoilers. This is 97% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with an 87% audience score. Roger Ebert and Leonard Maltin both give it 3.5 stars.
And on that cliffhanger, we both say you should watch this movie if you haven't seen it.
For sure.
Before you jump into spoilers, because let's talk about it. So you're saying Barbra.
It's interesting because then the movie starts off, it looks like she's going to be the main character, and then she gets to the farmhouse, and it completely subverts expectations because she's useless after that.
Even
she
her
becomes the person who just can't process it.
Even her brother too. Like you see those two, it almost pulls like. I mean, this is an older movie, but it pulls like a Psycho a little bit.
Yeah,
where the people you start the movie with, you think are going to be the main characters, and then they basically are. Yeah. Take a backseat to.
Yeah. One of them dies. Although you're not entirely sure he's dead until the end. But then he comes in, and they're finally reunited. She's reunited with her brother at the end, but not in the way that she had hoped. But yeah, she basically just sits on the couch the whole time and just can't process it. But I like that they had that character, because I feel like if this was to ever actually really take place in real life, you definitely are going to have people that just can't face it. I mean, they just can't face what's going on. It's too much, and it like breaks their brain. And I think that's kind of what her character does.
And I really liked how it was interesting because I realized I'd never seen it either, but like because I've seen so much like modern stuff, you're almost like expecting all these things to happen. So like playing with the expectations, like I'm like, oh, she's gonna turn, and I'm like, oh man, she didn't. Like it was cooler that it didn't happen.
It subverted your subverted expectations.
Totally.
Subvert the subversion.
But I did like that the daughter was a zombie. Like I thought that was cool, and like that whole stuff at the end where she's like eating her dad's arm and like kills her mom. Like that is like that holds up today as it did back. I'm sure it did back then. Like that is like modern zombie kind of stuff. That is awesome.
I agree, and I forgot. It's been so long since I've seen this. I forgot that it gets kind of really violent there at the end, where she basically kills and eats her own parents or whatever. Well, she doesn't kill her dad. Her dad gets killed with a shot from the rifle or whatever, but she starts eating her dad, and she stabs her mom with the little
spade, right?
The little garden tool. She stabs her.
It almost plays off like the idea of like a 28 Days Later, where it's just like they're violent. Like she wasn't like killing the mom to eat her. It was just like, nope, I'm killing you with this.
Right.
You're done.
Yeah,
There was like you're assuming like, oh, the dad died. She's like, oh, I'm gonna eat you. But like the mom, it was just like, I'm ending your life.
Yeah.
Like thing to the throat. Done.
I just and this is, again, we're seeing this movie. I'm seeing this movie for the first time in 2020. So the couple things is I wish we had more. I wish the zombies were more in line with normal zombies, right? Because I do feel like they have a little too much power. Like they were able to take out the headlights on the truck, and they were able to break through the glass on it, pick up a rock and break through the glass. Like they had like primitive technology abilities, right?
Yeah.
And you don't understand why they kind of feed on people. Like, is it because they're hungry, or is it just because they're crazy and stuff like that? It's like those things kind of like stuck in my craw a little bit while I was watching the movie, because I was like, I don't kind of understand it, but I just understand that that's just the way the movie is. But those are kind of the two things I was just kind of like, I wish these were kind of like explained a little bit better or shown a little bit better,
Yeah.
I love the radiation thing.
Yeah, the
that
radiation from
cool.
the satellite.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like the the doctor that's on the TV. Like his jargon is just like it's completely different than anything we would hear nowadays. Like the way he talked. And I'm just like, it just feels so antiquated, so different than what we would see like on a public service announcement that would happen these days,
Yeah, I feel like Romero and Russo, the co-writer, were trying to make it, as realistic as they could. They're even in the movie when there's the part where they're watching on TV. There's the reporters in Washington that are interviewing the military guys or whatever. That's George Romero and John Russo that are the reporters doing that. But I felt like they tried to make it realistic, as realistic as it could be. Maybe it doesn't necessarily come across as necessarily all that realistic or whatever. And then George Romero would continue to do that, especially with, I feel like, Dawn of the Dead. This movie, I think there's definitely maybe some themes and some commentary that he tries to make. I think, when I was reading some stuff after I watched it this time, just to kind of see what other people had to say about it. And, there were critiques that were like, oh, he's trying to make a statement on capitalism and consumerism and stuff like that. I don't think he was with this film. I think he very much is with the sequel, Dawn of the Dead, because you've got the zombies that are wandering around the mall, right? They're shoppers, basically. So I think it has a lot of that, a lot more of that than this movie. I feel like this movie has more kind of social commentary, as you said, not necessarily a critique of consumerism or anything like that. But nevertheless...
because at the end, Ben dies, and he dies at the hands of this militia. Sorry, that's a better word.
Yeah.
And they don't even check to see if he's, one of them or not. And you kind of extrapolate that, like, how many other people have they killed that they're just like innocents,
Yeah, and it's shown in like the kind of grainy photographs or whatever. It's a gut punch of an ending, because Ben is an awesome character. Dwayne Jones is an awesome actor, but Ben is an awesome character.
Ben rises to the occasion, and he's definitely like he does all the things that you would want to do in this situation, right? So he seems like very competent and with it, and he makes smart decisions. So you're like rooting for him.
Absolutely.
And then when that happens, it's just like I could see it kind of I can see it kind of foreshadowing that a little bit, like the way it was shot, and it was just like, oh no, don't go here, and it's like,
Yeah.
The only random question was, I still don't know why he decked Barbara. Like, that just seemed like, what?
She decked him. Or she slapped him, right?
Yeah, but it just, and again, obviously not condoning that, but you got his frustration. He was like, will you do something?
Yeah.
And she just was like, he's like breaking apart the whole house, and she brings like 4 little sticks. It's
Right.
like, oh, but like.
Yeah, and they were like logs, is like you would use for a fire. I'm like, how's he gonna hammer that to a wall?
Yeah, he has more sense than everybody else in the movie. Followed probably by the one young guy. That guy's not too bad a character. Of course, you have the asshole kind of character who's like, yeah, we're not gonna help. What are you gonna do trying to board up those windows? That won't work and everything.
But I also feel like that's very accurate. Like
it is,
even
absolutely.
I mean not to extrapolate too much, but even today's society, being in the pandemic you have two sides that are very fervent in their beliefs on this is the right way to do it, and then this movie you see that played out.
No, I think it's realistic as far as you definitely would have that kind of character who is adamant about making possibly probably the wrong decisions, but they're convicted. We're going to do this or whatever. So I found it interesting that guy. Apparently, his real life daughter is the daughter in the movie.
Okay.
And she also plays the dead body that he drags upstairs. That's on like the little
rug or whatever.
She's that body.
Okay.
That he drags away.
Eat his arm?
Yes.
In real life, no, he didn't. She didn't actually eat her father's arm in real life.
You missed out.
Yeah. No, but I mean, this is a kind of a vintage horror movie, but I still feel like it has kind of a modern sensibility in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Especially with the gore and just kind of like you said, kind of what it has to say is maybe not too far removed from what happens nowadays or what is happening nowadays, which is sad and tragic.
We haven't come very far in the last 50 years.
Andy, do you think they filmed the ending, or do you think they just took still photographs, like with the hooks and stuff?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I was like, I wonder if they filmed it, maybe it was too violent. Like, it made me...
Yeah.
It did look... I mean, this is me remembering it, so maybe I'm misremembering. But it did look like more grainy than the actual movie was.
It does, yeah.
So maybe that's an indication on that they didn't film it?
But I feel like that could have just been, like, the restaurant. Like, it almost... But it was just... Because it was, like, the fire, and then they drag it, but I'm like... Oh, I was like... I said to Adam, I think they filmed this. That they intentionally didn't... I mean, I still think it works, but I'm just like, wonder where that is. Where's that footage?
And you get, I mean, I think the bulk of zombie movies kind of end on a bummer. you know?
Well, this one especially though, because I really love the character. I love Ben because again, he's got it going on. I mean, he's with it. He knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And he's got a plan, and his plan is good.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate what happens.
All those other people that interfere with it and mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
go.
No, I was gonna say, I with this movie, I love it. As you know, I am a gigantic fan of the sequel, Dawn of the Dead. That's one of my top 10 probably movies of all time. So I like Dawn of the Dead better because I feel like Dawn of the Dead is all this and more. Yeah. But I have like a Aliens relationship or a Terminator 2 relationship with these kind of films or with the Night of the Living Dead films because even though I love Dawn of the Dead immensely, I think Night of the Living Dead is just stellar.
I can definitely see that, and I'm kind of with you. I know I like Dawn of the Dead a little bit more. Of course, seen Dawn of the Dead more times, so maybe that's kind of influenced the decision.
Yeah.
But I could totally see them. I mean, they're neck and neck. They're pretty much of the same kind of quality and stuff like that in the kind of movie. So I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Did you guys get any at the very big? It was hard. Like I was like, what is the relationship between Barbara and the guy? Like, I mean, eventually they they're brother and sister, but it was like, are they? Like I kind of was like, who are they? Because she had a wedding ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was just, I don't know if that was just me, but not anything like weird's going on. I was like, are they brother and sister? Are they a couple?
Yeah, they go to see the mom's grave, but it never. I don't feel like they say our mom. You know, he kind of says your mom, or
it makes it like in-laws,
or their father's grave. Their mom sent him because she can't make it.
Yeah,
and he drove 6 hours to it. But I do think he comes off as a dick, and so you're kind of like, when he gets killed. But yeah, I was with you until we got to the house and she called him her brother, it didn't really solidify in my mind that they were brother and sister.
And it was because she had this really like ornate wedding ring, and I was like, oh, is that her husband? Because like otherwise, it was just so strange. But I don't know if that was just me being a weirdo.
So the guy that plays that very first zombie that you see in the movie, his name is Bill Hinsman. And 20 years after this, he would make his own. He would, I think, write and direct his own zombie movie called Flesh Eater, which I watched a few years ago, and I didn't think it's that bad. Honestly, it's not nearly in the same realm or ballpark as Night of the Living Dead, but I thought it was kind of a fun little movie. Obviously, it's in color, and it's the 1980s, so it's got that going for it. But yeah, he decided. 20 years later, he's going to make his own zombie movie. And he did. And he's, I think, again, kind of the main zombie in that movie. Although he's 20 years older.
And I made a zombie short film that's not great. So, I mean, everyone's making zombie movies.
Everybody makes those zombie movies.
He kind of looked like Christopher Lloyd a little bit. Did anyone else get that?
The first zombie guy? I didn't catch that.
When he's in the car, I was like, that looks like... I mean, this is the stuff that Adam has to put up with when we watch these movies.
Christopher Lloyd, eh?
All right.
On that note.
So
Great Scott.
Obviously, as we mentioned, George Romero went on to do a lot of other, not just zombie movies. He did Monkey Shines, as we said. He did a movie called Martin. He did The Crazies. He's done other things. But he's primarily probably known for his zombie movies.
Oh, zombie movies.
He's got Night of the Living Dead. He's got Dawn of the Dead. He's got Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and Survival of the Dead. Those are all the Dead movies that came or in kind of the Dead movies. And then John Russo, the co-writer of Night of the Living Dead, they kind of apparently had a falling out at some point. And so John Russo has his own line of zombie movies.
Really?
And they are the Return of the Living Dead movies. Return of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Part 3. There's 5 of those so far. Those are more like a Reanimator style. They're funny, kind of horror comedy movies, whereas the George Romero's movies are definitely more serious. This movie is in the public domain, so you everybody's got their own version of Night of the Living Dead.
Every distributor and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of unofficial kind of remakes and versions that people have done of Night of the Living Dead. It was remade in 1990 by Tom Savini, Mr. Gore Effects himself, Mr. Awesome Tom Savini, remade in 1990. There's also like a Night of the Living Dead 3D remake that has Tony Todd in it, which came out in like mid 2000s, I believe, 2006, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. I haven't seen. I don't think I've ever seen. There's also a colorized version of this movie, which I would probably avoid at all costs because I think the black and white just looks cool. It's really awesome. And then Dwayne Jones, who plays Ben in this movie, didn't have a super long career. Unfortunately, passed away in the 80s, but he did make a movie in the 70s called Ganja and Hess, which is like a vampire movie.
I've heard of that movie. I've never seen it.
It was remade by Spike Lee as The Sweet Blood of Jesus.
Oh.
So, yeah. I haven't seen either of those movies, but I plan on watching Ganja and Hess very soon because I do have a copy of it. So I was going to say
maybe we'll do that for next year, but I'm not going to make you wait a year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could do that.
Bonus episode.
Uh-oh.
Ganja and Hess.
But yeah, I mean, again, if you've never seen Night of the Living Dead, watch it. And obviously, after we just spoiled everything about it, but hopefully you have seen it by this point.
Watch it again.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and again, I like to revisit it from time to time because I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad I watched it, and I will probably revisit it in the future too, for sure. All right. Well, that was our horror movie season, October horror stuff. So hopefully you had a lot of fun watching these movies along with us as we did. If you have movies that are suggestions for movies for us to watch next year,
definitely
leave us a comment below. Shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com. Follow us on social media @realshame. Next week, we're going to go back to our normal format, so you won't see our smiling faces as often. And we're going to get to you with, I think it's Serpico and The Insider, are the 2 movies we're going to do next week. And the reason why we know this now is because we already filmed those.
Way back when. So we're gonna look younger because we look 2 months younger in those movies.
Exactly.
In those videos.
But so thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time, guys, as we cross another movie off our list of shame. We'll see you soon. Bye.